We're here at Dublin Airport with a good news story for a change in this rather gloomy tourism season, and that is the introduction of a new scheduled air service from Scandinavia to Dublin. We'll hear more about that in a minute or two. And Finola O'Mahony, recently appointed Head of Europe by Tourism Ireland, with responsibility for growing that market in the future. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Eamon.
Do you want to tell us a bit about this good news story of the new carrier?
Yeah, well, we're delighted to be here today to welcome Norwegian Airlines, who are launching 2 new routes from Scandinavia into Dublin, from Oslo and from Copenhagen, coming to Dublin 3 times a week. So it is terrific news for us because, you know, one of the sort of breaks to our growth of travel both to and from Scandinavia has been the lack of access. And the lack of good value access. So this is very good news for us. It absolutely is, because they're coming in at very good prices. And we know from our research that we have a very strong image in the Nordics market.
And of course their economies are much stronger than many others, particularly the Norwegian.
Indeed, and I think that, you know, they're going to find Ireland surprisingly good value for money. So we know already that the advance bookings have exceeded their expectations, so we're absolutely thrilled. We're also bringing in 2 familiarisation trips on the leisure front and on business, and we have tour operators who are queuing up to come and meet with Irish trade partners, so it's very good news.
That's terrific. You come from a very interesting background, Finola, with very strong international marketing experience, of course, which is great. Tell us a little bit about your earlier career.
I've been working, I suppose, in international marketing for most of my career, primarily with American companies like the likes of Gillette, Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, and most recently I was working with E&J Gallo Winery, so I suppose in some ways that brought me closer to the hospitality industry. I've worked across Europe. I've done assignments and stints in places like Paris, Geneva. I was further afield, Japan, Boston. So I have a reasonably objective view of the world and how the world also sees Ireland, which for the most part is very positive. I probably got my best training, though, here in Dublin. When I started my career, I worked with a man called Sean Condon, who had been head of the Irish Export Board.
I remember him.
Yes, and he set up one of the first international marketing consultancies, so I worked with him for a few years. So I sort of feel I've come full circle, and I'm delighted to be able to sort of put my experience to the service of the Irish tourism industry.
That's terrific, and of course a very strong marketing background, as I said, but also great for us in that fresh eyes, you know, coming into the industry tell us sometimes what we might not be doing as well as we should. That's always good from our perspective as well. It's probably a bit unfair to ask you this, given that you're so recently in the job, but how is Continental Europe doing this year? The major markets, I know that numbers from Eastern European countries may be down, but the major markets, France, Germany, how are they?
Yeah, we're doing better than the average, than what one might expect. It's clear that, you know, everybody around the world is being a little more prudent. You know, the word staycation is now in people's vocabulary. But we do know, for example, in April, sort of globally, visitors to Ireland were down about 8%, but we know that visitors to places like the GB or indeed France, Netherlands were down 10-12%. So Ireland is sort of still doing better than the average. And in terms of continental Europe, year to date to June, we're down 6%. So our total figures are down 6%. But markets like Western European markets are at a par with last year. And interestingly, France is up 6%, Spain is up 7%, and Italy is up 22% year to date to June, which is quite astonishing. And so much so, we had news journalists from Rai Uno over last weekend in the west of Ireland investigating the love affair between Italians and Ireland. So again, we got good publicity on national television in Italy last week. Yeah,
the Guinness Storehouse, of course, they point out, rightly so too, that their fastest growing market, in fact, is the Italian market. Last year,
and Spain as well. These are markets that are opening up for us, and we hope will present sort of good opportunities for the future. Germany is obviously our largest market, and year to date to June, Germany is down about 5%. but signs are that the summer months are going to help improve that, and we've got very strong hopes for Germany in the future in the long term.
That's terrific. I suppose Germany and France are the two big ones, not to denigrate any of the other ones, which all played their part and are important, but Germany and France have to be where the principal future lies. Isn't that basically what came out of the review that Tourism Ireland recently conducted?
Yeah, we did a market review of Continental Europe, which we launched in April, and one of the objectives was to try and identify, where the best prospects are. The reality is that we're in a world where resources are tight and are going to be tighter. So we've got to try and find the winners and back the winners.
Sure.
And certainly Germany, right up at the top in terms of potential. They're the biggest travellers around the world, and they also tend to stay for a little bit longer. And France has been a very strong, steady growth for us over the last few years, and that's continuing to grow. But we also see markets like Spain and Italy, Sweden, with opening up of this type of new access that creates opportunities for us in terms of latent demand. So I'd say there are probably 6 to 8 markets in Europe where we're going to be key. We're going to be focusing our resources. That doesn't mean to say that we're going to sort of just ignore the other markets. We'll try and maintain certainly an online presence, a web presence. We want to nurture the relationships that we've built up over time. I mean, tourism is very much, one of the things I have learned, it's very much about the long term, and we don't want to lose the good contacts and relationships that we have. And I think that the Norwegian Airlines example that we have here today shows what can happen in terms of turning a market around from decline into a potential growth.
Exactly, and of course there was other good news from Europe this week too, in that France and Germany both have moved out of recession and have moved back to growth, albeit very modest growth, but nevertheless it's in the right direction. And we always say that here, that we have to look beyond the recession. I know it's difficult for businesses that are having to survive and struggle through it, but there is a brighter future ahead for travel and tourism.
And we're doing everything that we can to very much focus on the trade side, focusing on tactical offers, getting the message out to consumers that Ireland is affordable. And all of the autumn campaigns that we're running this autumn are going to focus offers from the Irish trade to Europe. We're running a big pan-European campaign with Expedia, which, and I'd encourage all of your members and the Irish trade to get involved in that. Because it's a great shop window, and it's an opportunity over a 2-month period to get focus to millions of consumers. We're going to be sending out direct marketing emails to more than 3 million people on the Expedia databases, talking uniquely about Ireland.
Well, that's terrific. And Finola O'Mahony, welcome to the industry, and the very best luck for the future.
Thank you very much, Eamon.